Previously on Unscripted.
I'm going to ask you something now if you've heard of something or not. You don't have to have watched the movie. I just want to know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of K-pop Demon Hunters?
No.
You're listening to Unscripted with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
Okay, Skip. So we were texting each other yesterday, and of course, the big news of the day is the recent rule changes that the CFL announced a month ago.
Of course, huge topic.
No, I'm just kidding. The big news of the day is that the World Series ended last night, and we will do a deep dive into that, and we'll also talk about the Montreal Expos documentary that came out on Netflix. I don't know, it seems like yesterday or it seems like a month ago, but it was recent.
Correct.
So, full disclosure, we're recording on a Sunday morning, which is rare for us, but we wanted to see the conclusion of the World Series before recording this episode so that we could give a full recap of everything that happened. And of course, I stayed up until the end of the game. I stayed up until the end of the 18-inning game, which ended at 2:50 a.m. Eastern time. What time did you turn off that game 3?
Game 3, I went to bed after 14 innings, after the 14th. But then I was still in bed listening, like, on my phone just to, like, the radio broadcast, the audio broadcast, for I don't know. I don't know how long I lasted. I fell asleep, whatever. But then somehow, like, in my ear, as I'm sleeping with my earbud in my ear, I hear Freddie Freeman's home run, like, happening. How
do you lie in bed with an earbud in your ear? That would bother me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange thing. It's like I've been doing it for forever, Yeah.
Okay. So, obviously the Dodgers won the World Series. Everyone knows that.
Congrats to them.
It was extremely heartbreaking for the Toronto Blue Jays, for all their fans. I feel bad for the diehard Blue Jay fans. I know a bunch of them, and I'm not even sure if they're going to leave their house today or tomorrow or this whole week.
Did you see at the end of the game there was like a little kid, he had red hair.
I did see that,
in the front row, and he was just like crying, like you couldn't see his face. He was covering his face, his head on the dugout, lying on the dugout. I'm like, "Oh my God."
I feel bad for all those fans because the Jays had so many chances to win this World Series. I don't recall a World Series where the losing team had so many chances to win. And so many strange things happened in this World Series. Like, you've watched, I don't know how many hundreds of baseball games you've watched in your life. And most of the time, nothing strange happens in a baseball game. Sometimes one strange thing happens in a baseball game. Yesterday, there might have been a half a dozen strange things that happened just in Game 7.
Yeah, and then go back to Game 6, like the lodged ball, and then the way that Game 6 ended. It's so well. First of all, like, I'm not a diehard Jays fan. I'm barely a Jays fan. I'm not really a Jays fan. I was only cheering for them for the first time in my life was during these playoffs. I never cheered for the Jays, ever. I got wrapped up in it just like the rest of the country did, and we all were pulling for the Jays. I mean, you're much closer. I don't know how you haven't really become a Jays fan living in Toronto. I think that would be really difficult because, like, I know how I would be. You get sucked into the media swarm of everything, all the coverage, and then eventually you start to like the team. But this was a very easy team to root for.
For sure.
Like going back to the other Jays teams, the Bautista, Donaldson, those guys are jerks. I couldn't root for them. Like, I didn't like them, But Vlad Guerrero and Ernie Clement and Barger and Treyu Savage, like, these guys are easy to root for. Now, to answer your question, there was so many weird things that happened. Like, that Game 6 ending. We were on the couch. The Jays are down by 2 runs. And they have 2 men on base. And
not only on base, in scoring position with no outs.
This is after the lodged ball. And I know online people are like, it's a controversial call. It's not a controversial call. That's what happened. The outfielder raised his hand. He knew the rule. Like that, there was no controversy about that lodged ball thing. It happens, and that's what happened. But they had second and third, and no outs.
But the fact that it happened, it was the right call.
Yeah,
but
yeah. The fact that it did
like,
happen.
If you went into the outfield and placed the ball with your hand under that whatever wall, it's not an easy thing to do. Like someone went and tried to do it yesterday, and they showed the video, and it's not an easy thing to do.
No, you can't. Like, it's literally like 1 in a million shot.
So right there, that's like one crazy thing. Let's make a list.
But I'm on the couch and I'm watching them with my wife, and I'm like, and it's the bottom of the ninth. And I'm like, I think the Jays are about to win the World Series here in the bottom of the ninth in the most dramatic way possible. Like, I really felt that they were going to win that game. They were definitely going to cash in those 2 runs, and who knows what else. And then, I think I told you this yesterday, or maybe in text. I definitely told someone else, a friend of ours, yesterday. The big turning point in that game wasn't the line out and the double play. I mean, obviously that's a terrible circumstance, but Hernandez made a great play and they doubled him off. It happens. But Ernie Clement, who's been the most consistent hitter the Jays have had this whole playoffs, the guy has 30 hits in the postseason. He swings at the first pitch and hits a pop up to second. That was literally worst case scenario. Like, that's worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they could have got a run in there on any number of ways,
All he has to do is hit a deep fly ball.
Anything.
Which he did the next day.
Yeah. You're right. And then yesterday was equally frustrating because the Jays had the lead, actually, the whole game until the end. And then they just couldn't get that extra run across when they needed to, And all this playoffs, I was thinking, the Jays have been, praised because they don't strike out, right? Or they don't strike out as much as any other team. And they put the ball in play, and everyone's like, look at the Jays hitting approach. They put the ball in play. They get a lot of hits, and they get singles, and they manufacture runs. They're not just relying on home runs to get, like every other team does. And then I was thinking, I wonder if the Jays' success is going to make other teams start to look at like how their teams are constructed and say, hey, yeah, we need to get more guys that strike out less and make more contact. And maybe batting average in like 5 years is going to come back into favor and, all this stuff. And then yesterday, the Dodgers dispelled all of that because the Dodgers didn't get any hits. All they did is hit 3 solo home runs, and that won them the World Series. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the Jays, who were always getting the contact, couldn't get that extra hit that they needed when they really needed it.
Right. And an example of that was in Game 7. I don't remember what inning it was. I think the Jays already had 4 runs at this point. Ernie Clement gets on, so it wasn't the 9th inning. Maybe it was the 7th. And he steals second, which was shocking to me because I don't think the Jays have stolen a base in this entire postseason.
He fooled the pitcher because he got this real huge running lead.
And then he's at second base in scoring position, and he's stranded there. They don't score. Yeah. I mean, they were 3 for 17 with runners in scoring position. They stranded 14 runners in the World Series. That is why they lost.
I saw a very, very heartbreaking interview. I just saw it this morning when I woke up, of Jeff Hoffman, the closer, who gave up, he gave up a home run to literally the worst guy on there, the
number 9 hitter, who is only in there for his defense.
Yeah, he's not even only in there for his defense. He's actually in there because, believe it or not, because they have no one to play center field. So they have to put Edman in center, and they need someone else to play second. Like, it's bizarre. But like, I saw an interview with Hoffman, and he was in tears, and he was crying, and he was saying, I cost every guy in this room a World Series ring, and he's putting the blame on himself for giving up that home run. Now, yes, he has blame for giving up that home run because that's not a good thing to do, and Hoffman is not a good closer, and we've known this. Any Jays fan who looks in the mirror and is 100% honest with himself will say, the bullpen's not good, Hoffman's literally not a good closer, and we shouldn't be able to trust him. So it's not that shocking. But what you just said the fact that they were 3 for 17 with runners in scoring position, that tells the whole story. Because if they cash in, if they're 4 for 17 with runners in scoring position, just one more hit, then maybe Hoffman, that home run doesn't matter, you know?
He did, by the way, Hoffman did lead the league. He gave up more home runs than any other closer in baseball. So,
but I've known how bad he is since last year. The Phillies ran him out of town. Philadelphia ran him out of town because he couldn't get anybody out last year in the playoffs.
Right.
And then he sucked. And then because he sucked so much, the Jays made him their closer. Like, make that make sense.
However,
Yeah.
you're 100% right. Yesterday, and actually Game 6 as well, you would think that John Schneider would know this. And he has other pitchers at his disposal because he's got Chris Bassett in the bullpen. He's got Eric Lauer in the bullpen. And yesterday, Trey Savage in the bullpen. And also Shane Bieber in the bullpen. Like, there are other guys that you can use when it gets to this point. You don't even have to use Jeff Hoffman.
But he used all those guys.
Well, he didn't use all of them. He used some of them.
Yeah, I mean, and then Bieber came in at the end and gave up a home run too, so it didn't really matter. You know, I don't think he trusted. The interesting thing, the most frustrating thing about this World Series, as a, like, let's say an impartial viewer, is so you're always complaining, and rightfully so, that there's too many pitchers on the roster.
Way too many.
Okay, so how many pitchers are on the postseason roster of each team? 12, right?
Well, there were 12 in the World Series. There were 13 in the previous round.
Yeah. Okay, so they have 12 pitchers on the roster, and the Dodgers actually kind of have a loophole because they have an extra because of Ohtani.
Right, I think the Dodgers also had 13 pitchers if you include Ohtani.
So the Dodgers have 13 pitchers, and Roberts does not trust any of the bullpen.
Well, this is what I was saying. Roberts is smart. Roberts knows that he can only trust a certain amount of people. And I think, like, I didn't look at the box score, but I'm pretty sure that yesterday Roberts used 4 starting pitchers in the game.
Yeah, he did. He used all his starters.
Right. And
Ohtani started.
And maybe 2 actual relievers, maybe.
Yeah, Ohtani started, and then he brought in Glasnow, and then he brought in Yamamoto.
And Snell.
And Snell, right? He used them all.
Right. And I think he used only 2 actual relievers.
I mean, the Schneider did the same. He didn't put in Gosman, which I guess he couldn't. He didn't think it would work. Like, it was the same thing. Like, Roberts rolled the dice with Yamamoto, thinking like, okay, he pitched yesterday, but we're going to put him in.
Once I saw Yamamoto warming up, I thought game over because the Jays can't hit him.
I didn't see the end of the game, like the post game. Sorry, I saw the whole game. I didn't see the post game. I'm assuming Yamamoto was the World Series MVP.
He was, and he deserved to be. He should have been. He had 3 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 3 wins in 7 games. You're going to be the MVP.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, no one on the Dodgers actually had like an amazing series. So it was really an easy pick, if you ask me.
You know, the crazy thing is that you're right, because the thing about the Dodgers, what makes them so dangerous is their top 4 is lethal.
Even their top 6.
No, I know, even their top 6, but like the top 4 is really lethal. And then all the other guys are like still pretty good and they have this tendency, because we've seen it over the last million postseasons, they do come through. You know, Max Muncy came through yesterday. Teoscar is dangerous as hell, right? Tommy Edman, the worst player in the majors, somehow gets hits. You know, Kike Hernandez is the funniest thing, because he got 1 million clutch postseason hits for the Dodgers. And then other teams are like, man, this guy's really good. He signs a huge contract with the Red Sox. He sucks. He can't do anything. And then he comes back to the Dodgers, and then he's back to his old tricks, right? So, yeah, the Dodgers are just a dangerous, dangerous team. And the Jays did a great job of mostly shutting down Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. And to a certain extent, Will Smith. Will Smith's a very underrated, really good player, obviously.
He is. Will Smith caught all 18 innings of that 18-inning game and then caught the whole rest of the next game the next day.
Yeah.
By the way.
And go ahead. No, go ahead.
So every move that Dave Roberts made worked. For example, let's just look at Game 7. So that guy Rojas, who was batting 9th and playing second base, the reason he was in the lineup is because Roberts no longer trusted Andy Pages, who was playing center field and batting 9th, because Andy Pages couldn't hit his way out of a paper bag. So Rojas moves in to play second base, and then Edman goes to play center field. Yesterday, in the middle of an inning, I think it was the ninth, he brings Pages in to play defense because he's very good defensively.
And then he makes his crazy catch.
And then 2 pitches later, he makes this insane catch. Like, when I saw that ball going and I saw that the 2 outfielders were going to collide with each other, I'm like, well, this is definitely going to drop at some point, and the Jays are going to win. And somehow they crash into each other, and he holds on to the ball. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Like you're saying, like, think about all the things that had to happen. But that's sports, right? And that's like a game 7. We tend to, like, in our minds and then on instant replay, rerun every play because, like, there's so many consequential plays. That play was crazy because Hernandez is going back, and as it's happening in real time, I'm like, there's no way he's going to catch this because he's got to make this crazy over the shoulder, backward, his back facing home plate catch. And then out of nowhere comes Paz into the screen.
I don't know what the distance that he ran was, but like he was nowhere near that ball because he was playing so shallow to begin with.
Yeah. And then literally he body checks Hernandez out of the way and then catches the ball. It was crazy.
It was completely crazy. Like if there was a movie made about this, I wouldn't believe the movie. Like, it would not be believable.
It's so true. The 18-inning game, the lodged ball, Barger getting doubled off second, and then
bench clearing in the World Series. I've never seen that. You know, it reminded me of all those fights in the Four Nations face-off. You don't expect to see that in such a high level game.
Yeah, but it's funny because we had some people watching with us yesterday who really don't know anything about baseball. It's not their fault, right? So I had to explain to like some of the people we were with. I'm like, okay, you don't understand. This is a baseball fight. This is 50 guys running out, looking like they're gonna act tough, and then they just stand around and look at each other, right? Like nothing happens in a baseball fight, right? It's actually one of the funniest things to watch. But like, did you see like they showed the replay of Vlad like jumping the dugout railing onto the field? It was great. I loved it. It was like, come on, let's see it, you know. But
so yeah. I'm glad you mentioned, watching with people who don't really know baseball so well. So yeah. All these people came out of the woodwork, people who have never watched baseball at all. And I'm getting text messages from friends of mine who don't know baseball completely. So some of the questions that I got, and I'm not going to name names, some of the questions that I got during game 6 or 7 was, are the Blue Jays batting in the top or the bottom of the order in this game? Sorry, top or the bottom of the inning in this game? That's one question I got. And then another question I got was, so there was an at-bat. It was Barger's at-bat where he fouled off a bunch of pitches and then he ended up walking. So my friend texts me, I don't understand. Why does he get to go to first base? Because he fouled off too many pitches? Like there were 4 balls in the at-bat. Yeah. Another question I got was, what's that phone in the dugout that has a cord? Who are they calling?
But the funniest thing about that phone is that, our friend that I was watching with who does know baseball was like, it says on it bullpen on tape with a piece of tape.
Yes.
Like, but do they have another phone that calls someone else?
There are 2 phones. I've seen a second phone. I don't know where the other phone calls to.
Because the
other phone is if you want to order a pizza or something.
Exactly what I said yesterday. Do they have another phone that says send us the hot dogs? Like I don't understand. Like and it's so low tech. It's literally like a landline, right? And not even a landline, it's like an internal house phone, and it calls only the bullpen. Like you'd figure, like can't he just send the bullpen coach a text?
Well, they're not allowed, right? They're not allowed to have phones or Apple Watches or any of that stuff. Any devices.
So just can we talk about the bottom of the last inning?
Yes.
Like again, the Jays had their chances. I really thought this is it. They had first and third, 1 out. I'm like, I think they have a great chance. Alejandro Kirk was up, and then Dan Schulman really made the point. He reminded everybody, anything on the ground, and this game is over.
Yeah, he had to hit a fly ball. And Kirk is usually very clutch, and he can hit a fly ball. Like, all he needed to do was hit a deep fly ball. That's all he needed to do.
Well, you saw his last 2 at-bats. He had 2 beautiful hits to right field.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm thinking this guy's a professional hitter. He's going to get up there. He's going to do the job. And then as soon as I saw that ball on the ground, and the infield was in. The infield
Which makes
was
it even
in.
easier.
It wasn't in, but it was what they call like 3/4 in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it makes it even easier for him to get a hit,
Exactly.
But he hit it, as soon as I saw it go to...
Like, I can't remember ever seeing him hit a ground ball, honestly.
Really?
There's very few ground balls in baseball anymore, and I can't remember ever seeing him hit a ground ball.
I was even thinking that they should have tried to steal with Barger, get him moving.
I jokingly said that to my friend who I was watching with, but that wouldn't have mattered. They wouldn't have thrown, they would have let him steal.
I know, but that would have taken away the double play. That's the whole point.
Right. Yes. So you're right. They should have done it. But the Jays have been so conservative when it comes to stealing bases. And by the way, let's not forget how many bad base running plays the Jays had. Like yesterday when Springer decides he's going to steal second, and then halfway there, he just stops thinking it was ball 4, but it wasn't, and he gets tagged out. And then the same thing in game 3, Bichette starts walking off first base, walking to second, thinking it was ball 4 on Dalton Varsho, but it wasn't, and he gets tagged out. Like, you guys, you're professional baseball players. You can't get picked off like that.
Yeah. The one where Bichette got picked off, I mean, yes, he's to blame. He should know the count. But, obviously, Will Smith knew the count. Right? Right? He threw over, the Dodgers knew the count, or maybe at least the catcher did. But, Bichette also thought, not Bichette, Varsho thought it was ball 4 because he started to walk off and take off his protective equipment. And then that's why Bichette kind of started wandering off.
And I blame the umpire on that as well, because he took forever to make the call on that pitch.
Yeah.
It was awful.
I agree.
But by the way, the umpires, the home plate umpires, they made mistakes against both teams. It's not like it helped one team or the other. But if there was ever proof that you needed to use robot umpires, this World Series was it.
Well, we're going to start having it next year. They're going to be able to challenge a couple times a game.
Right, but why only a couple times a game? That's the problem.
Well, that's the start, I guess. But, I mean, look, we've been watching baseball, like you said, for a long time. And the balls and strikes, we think it's worse than ever. I would say it's probably better than ever in that we think it's worse because we see the box on the screen now. So with our eyes, it's much easier to say, oh, that was a ball or that was a strike. But think back, Josh. Think back to those Braves when the Braves were in the World Series. I have vivid memories of the catcher posting with Tom Glavine on the mound and Javier Lopez, the catcher, posting setting up a target way outside. Glavine throws, hits the target way outside, obviously a ball, and they call a strike. This stuff's been going on for a long time. So I think it's better because the umps know about the box. The umps can't see the box, but they know it's there for everybody else to see. So they're being held to maybe a higher standard. But yeah, I mean, there's calls that go either way, and it's difficult.
By the way, I know you know this, but did you notice that both Game 6 and 7 ended with a double play? What are the chances of that?
I know. I feel bad. I feel bad for the Jays players. I feel bad for all the fans. I feel bad for next year because I think expectations are going to be really high, and I don't think those expectations are going to be met. I think this was a convergence of a lot of things that allowed the Jays to get to the World Series. There was no clear-cut great team in the American League. There wasn't. Who's a great team in the American League? The Jays, the Yankees, Seattle, right? Detroit, these are not great teams at all. These are incredibly flawed teams. The National League, the best 4 teams in the National League, if you look at the Dodgers, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, San Diego, those are all better teams.
I agree. I thought that any one of those 4 National League teams would win the World Series before the playoffs started.
So, it's just not going to happen. We talked about it before we pushed record. The Jays pitching staff has tons of free agents. A lot of those guys are not going to be back, or maybe they are. And even if they are, they're old. Bieber's old. Gosman's old. Bassett's old, right? Gosman's still good. I think Gosman is still good. But, I mean, yeah, they'll have you Savage, but what else will they have, right? And then the bullpen's still not going to be good. And Ernie Clement's not going to hit 350 next year like he did in the playoffs, right? Barger, I think, is a good player. They've stumbled onto something with him, And obviously Vlad is good. And then the big thing is Bo Bichette's a free agent. And I know Bo Bichette's contribution in the whole of the playoffs has been very small because he was injured. And the World Series wasn't as that impactful because, he couldn't run and, maybe obviously he was still hurt. He literally couldn't run, Bo Bichette's like, I don't want to sound like weird by saying this because everyone saw how great Vladimir Guerrero is. Bo Bichette's a better hitter than Vlad in many ways.
Well, for batting average, yes.
For batting average, 100%.
But he's not a shortstop. Like he should, even if he was 100% healthy, he should not play shortstop ahead of Jimenez. And I don't know that he's going to agree to move to second base full time. I don't think he's going to be on the Blue Jays next year, but I did love his reaction when he hit the home run. His reaction was phenomenal when he hit the home run. And even when he rounded the bases and got back to home plate and Guerrero hugged him, his reaction, he was so just low key. It was amazing.
Yeah. You're right. I don't know if he's going to want to move away from shortstop. I don't know if the Jays are going to offer him the kind of money that he thinks he should get. And he should get a lot. I mean, this guy had 94 RBIs before he got hurt this year, which is not a small number, right? And he was leading the league in hits. And he's led the league in hits, I think, the last 3 or 4 years, or he's up there.
2 years ago, he had a terrible season. So I'm asking myself, which is the real Bo Bichette? I'm not 100% sure.
Right. But I mean, he's a really, really good player, and he's an important player on their team. And I just don't think he's going to be there. It's going to be really tough for the Jays to make it back. The American League East is tough. The Red Sox are going to be there again. The Yankees are going to be there again. This is not an easy division to win again, and I think expectations are going to be really high about after all this. And I just hope Jays fans can take it in and try to enjoy the ride that they were on. I know it ended in a heartbreaking way, and really diehard Jays fans are just going to be asking themselves, what if, forever, what if this happened? What if that happened? All the things we just said. What if Kirk didn't hit into a double play? What if we would have done this? What if Hoffman wouldn't, there's a million, you can replay a million events to try to change the outcome of this series. But in the end, that's what it is. And now we've only talked about the Jays. We've hardly talked about the Dodgers.
Well, I still have way more things to talk about just yesterday. So give me a minute because I'm going to be nitpicky now. But John Schneider, I don't like him as a manager. You could say what you want. He got the team to the World Series, but I don't think he's a good manager. He managed yesterday's game and the other extra inning game as if they were going to be 9-inning games. It's like it didn't even cross his mind that these games might go into extra innings. So yesterday, for example, he brings in IKF to run for Bichette. That means you take Bichette's bat out of the lineup. But he had to bring him in at that point because he was the winning run, and he actually can't run. So you needed someone there that could actually move more than one base at a time. Okay, but then IKF eventually gets to third base.
Of course, yeah.
And he's thrown out at home plate. I don't know if you saw a replay of that. He didn't get a good jump off third base. He almost had no lead, which I don't understand. You're not being held at third base by the third baseman. You should have a big lead. You should know that you're running on contact. The bases are loaded. It's, and so I don't think he ran the bases properly. I'm not saying Bichette would have scored, but I'm just saying he did not run the bases well.
Well, the interesting thing about Schneider is he used a lot of pinch runners in this series,
which were mistakes. All of them were mistakes.
And the thing is, a lot of the times the guys that he used to run are not fast runners. They're just not slow like the other guy.
And
right?
the difference in the speed between the guy that he brought in and the guy that he took out, when he pinch ran for Barger in that 18-inning game, then you lose Barger's bat for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And the guy that he brought in, I think it was, I don't know if it was Schneider or Straw, whoever to run. I think it was Schneider. And how much faster is Schneider than Barger? If they had a race, I don't even know that you would notice a difference.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Yesterday he pinch hit for Lucas. Okay, fine. I understand why he did that because Lucas is a left-handed batter. So he pinch hits with Schneider. Okay. But then what does he do? Right after that, in the next inning, he puts Straw into play the outfield instead of Schneider. Schneider can play the outfield. Why do you have to bring in Straw?
I agree. Schneider played plenty
Like,
of
he made an
outfield,
extra move that wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
And he did that all season long.
And actually one that weakens their lineup because Straw ends up coming up and he's basically an automatic out.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
I'm so frustrated. I'm so aggravated.
Imagine if it was a team you really liked.
Exactly. How many times in this World Series did Dalton Varsho come up with runners in scoring position and end the inning? How many times did that happen?
It happened a lot in Game 6.
He's very good defensively. I'm not going to take anything away from him defensively, but he can't hit. And he's really batting like fifth.
Yeah, he's really not a good hitter. He has power, and that's about it. But he's really not a good hitter, and he's shown us that over the course of his whole career. But what happened is when he came back from his injury this year, he was really hot. He was hitting everything, and that put this idea in Jays fans' heads, in Schneider's heads, and everybody's like, Varsho's really good. He's hot. He's a great hitter. No, Varsho is a 220 hitter with a little bit of power. That's what he is.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, if I know this and you know this, you would think the manager would know this.
Yeah, I know. It took him to Game 7 to move Barger to up in the order and put Varsho down. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try to calm down, but there's a few other things I want to mention.
Okay.
So I didn't like, when Rob Manfred was presenting the trophy, usually the commissioner of every league congratulates both teams, and Rob Manfred didn't even mention the Blue Jays. He didn't even say the word Toronto or Blue Jays at all. So that bothered me.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know why. Maybe did he forget? Did he do it intentionally? I don't know. But that was, I found that just rude.
Insulting. Yeah, rude.
Even Gary Bettman, who I can't stand, at least he congratulates the losing team before he presents the Stanley Cup.
Especially when you're in their building.
So that was annoying. And then one other, again, I'm being very nitpicky here, but when I watch NHL or NFL or NBA playoffs, when teams win a round to go to the next round, they just sort of win and go on. But I noticed that every time the Jays won a round, they popped champagne in the locker room as if they had won the World Series. Now, I don't know if every team in baseball does that, but I found that a little strange.
Yeah, they definitely don't do that in the NBA. Maybe to win the conference they might, but yeah, that is a bit weird.
And every round the Jays did it. Every round was like a party.
Well, when you think back to almost a month ago, when the Jays beat the Yankees, I felt like that was their World Series.
Well, I think they felt that too because they celebrated like it was.
Yeah.
So that was just, I found that odd. And again, I don't know what other teams, what did the Dodgers do when they won the previous round? I have no idea.
I don't know. The conspiracy theory, because you're talking about Rob Manfred, this is something that I heard on the radio yesterday. That Rob Manfred, this is a conspiracy theory. Rob Manfred was cheering and actually wanted the Dodgers to win.
100%.
Now this is, but not for the reasons you think. Not because they're American, not because it's a bigger market, not because it's better for baseball, not any of that. He wanted the Dodgers to win because of the upcoming collective bargaining negotiations that are about to happen. He wanted to use the Dodgers winning against the players, to show that a team with a huge salary won the World Series 2 years in a row, and it's an unfair advantage, so that he can shove the salary cap in and get the votes that he needs. So that's a crazy situation there, but
I believe that 100%, by the way. and all I have to say about that is just look at the payroll of the 5 starting pitchers on the Dodgers. Just those 5 guys. Yeah, I think that alone is more than the entire payroll of some teams. In fact, I know it is.
But the thing is, even despite the huge payroll advantage that the Dodgers have, it took them extra innings in Game 7 to beat the Blue Jays, right? And now, the Jays are not a poor team. The Jays are
yeah, they're in the top 10 in terms of spending money. Yes, they're not poor.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, the collective bargaining agreement.
Well,
because
I mean, the players are not going to accept a salary cap, so we might have a complete season wiped out again.
Yeah. Well, we're segueing into our next topic, which is the who killed the Montreal Expos.
Right.
So, right. All right. So, final thoughts on the Jays? Do you have any, or is that it? Or
I mean, my only final thought is really it's not about the Jays. It's more, here in Canada, we had two different options of where we could watch the games, the American feed or the Canadian feed. I watched the Canadian feed for every game, every pitch. I'm assuming you did as well, and I'm glad that I did. Dan Schulman is an excellent play-by-play announcer, not just for baseball, but he does other sports as well, and that's all I wanted to say about that. Okay, Skip, we'll be right back to talk about who killed the Montreal Expos.
You're listening to Unscripted.
I'm Joseph DeMedictis,
And I'm Ross Citrulo.
and we're doing this podcast so we don't have to go home and get a real job.
Exactly.
That's right. And we're doing it to tell you about our pursuit of the dreams we've had since being a kid, being young, trying to get into the entertainment industry. Us, we're mid-career, sort of. We're kind of halfway broken in a way, but we both have these big dreams and big goals.
Aspirations, really.
For our careers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. This podcast is about the journey through the industry, trying to make it, but trying not to have to give up.
So listen to our podcast on all the places you might listen to a podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We have our own YouTube channel where you can watch the video version. All the links can be found at you'llnevermakeit.ca. Here's hoping we do.
And now, back to Unscripted.
Okay, Skip, we're back.
all right. So we've done a half an hour on the Jays, which we've done a lot on the Jays there. It's always interesting when we have a lot on our mind. We rescheduled recording because we wanted to make sure that the series was over. Normally we don't record at this time. And then now we're at the topic that we plan to talk about, which is the Netflix documentary, Who Killed the Montreal Expos, which came out, I don't know, like a couple weeks ago, maybe?
I think it was 10 days ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe a couple weeks ago.
So I watched it. I think I watched it like right when it came out, the next day, the third day.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough as an Expos fan, die hard. It's kind of a tough watch. It's like I think a lot of people could watch this movie and learn stuff and say, "Oh my God, I didn't know about this. I didn't know about the local owners. I didn't know Laurie and Sampson stole the team. I didn't know about all this." There's people that might watch this and be like, "This is new to them," right? But for me and you, this is like reliving like a trauma. We're going back down memory lane and reliving all the stuff that we lived through. Right? All the stuff that, I forgot about some of this stuff. I didn't forget about it, but it's like, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened. Oh yeah, I remember this. Like it's in the past, but like, these are tough times, these are not good times.
No, there is one part that I forgot. I knew about it, but I forgot the part where the minority owners sued Major League Baseball and Jeffrey Loria, claiming that they intended to steal the team from them. I do now that they reminded me, I remembered it, but that was a lawsuit that was going nowhere from day one.
I remember that at the time and just thinking it was a joke.
Yeah.
Like there was just no way that they were going to be able to, that was going to ever go anywhere,
And by the way,
it may have merit. It may have merit, that lawsuit. Like there was potentially some kind of intent, but there's no way that that's going anywhere.
If you have not watched the documentary, for those listening who have not watched it, if you're expecting to find out in the end who killed the Montreal Expos, you're not going to find out the answer to that question because they let you figure that out on yourself. And obviously there's nothing in there that I didn't know already, but looking back on the whole thing, if you ask me, who is the biggest culprit of the whole demise, I actually think that it was the minority owners when they kicked out Claude Brochu and insisted that someone else take over, because that brought in Jeff Loria, and then that's when all the disaster started.
I agree.
Because say what you want about Claude Brochu, like I didn't love him, but he at least wanted to keep the team in Montreal.
Yeah. Claude Brochu, I wrote down, they make him, I don't know if the movie makes him look bad, but like they don't make him look great in this movie.
Right.
And at the time he didn't look great in real time when it happened. We didn't like Claude Brochu. We thought he was more responsible than probably what he was. He was just the mouthpiece of the owners. But I wrote in a note, like, he still wasn't good. Like, the Expos needed at that time, that position that Claude Brochu was in, they needed a strong leader, someone who could tell all those owners what to do, who they would listen to. And if you really want to be the managing partner, which was his title, then be the managing partner, manage the partnership. And he failed at that, right? Now, is it his fault or is it the owner's fault? I don't know, but he didn't do a good job of what he was supposed to do, you know?
Right, and then they had Jeffrey Loria, who did tell them what to do, and they didn't listen to him either because he made all those cash calls.
Yeah.
The other owners said no, and then they just started losing more and more of the team. I think Loria, when he bought the team, he only owned like 18% of the team, and then by the end, he owned 80% of the team. The problem is the whole, like let's back up here. The problem is those 10 minority owners, or 12, or however many there were, they didn't really want to own the team. They didn't have the wherewithal to be able to finance what it takes to own a baseball team. Like, they wanted to put in their share when they bought it, and then that's it. They didn't want to, like, don't ask me for more money because I'm not giving you more money. So now, and this is why Charles Bronfman was smart when he sold the team, because he saw the writing on the wall. He's like, I can't own a baseball team anymore. Yes, I'm a rich guy, but you need to be like a rich, huge corporation like Rogers or something like that to own a professional sports franchise. You can't just be a rich person. So there was nobody in the province that had the sufficient funds to own a professional baseball team. Nobody.
I agree with that. I wrote it down. It was like at the beginning, Laurie and Sampson owned 24% of the team. And then at the end, they own 90. Like by the end of the cash calls, they own 92. Right. So,
right.
Yeah.
So,
like, what do you think about the movie overall?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I had some very strong opinions about that. Never mind what actually happened, because I know what actually happened. But if I'm going to do a documentary about any topic, I'm going to talk to subject matter experts.
Yeah.
Okay. I wrote down a list of people who I would have talked to. Who, by the way, none of these people were in the documentary, okay?
I'm glad you mentioned this, because there's many people that should have been in here that weren't, and there's one that's really bothered me.
I bet you it's the same for you and me. Anyway, listen to this list of people who know all about Montreal baseball, none of whom were spoken to in this documentary. Mitch Melnick, Jack Todd, Michael Farber, Herb Zurkowski, Dave Van Horn, Ariel Helwani, Stephen Brunt, Ron Roosh. Those are the names that I came up with off the top of my head. I could probably come up with more. Those people, how many, 6, 8 people that I just listed, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone else other than those names that know more about baseball in Montreal than those people. Instead, who do they talk to? Tom Verducci? Why is Tom Verducci in this documentary at all? That's number one.
Yeah. They want to get an American perspective. It was weird.
And the person who was on the screen, I think more than anybody, is this guy named
Jeremy Filosa.
Who is Jeremy Filosa?
Okay, it's great that you said that, because I had a feeling like you don't know who he is, and most people don't know who he is, right? He's exactly our age. He was in his 20s when this happened, and he was a nobody. But he is on the radio and on French TV for sports now. He has a career. He's someone, you know. But I found it odd that this guy is like the main focus of the documentary. Someone who I don't think is an authority on the situation, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, all this to say that I wasn't impressed with the documentary at all.
The main person that's like, you gave a great list, and we don't know if they if they asked those people to be on and
Right.
they didn't want to.
That's true. I don't know.
And you mentioned Ron Rouge, who's not alive, so he couldn't be in the
Sorry,
show.
I didn't realize that he'd passed away. Sorry.
But the main omission is Dave Van Horn.
100%.
I mean, they even show a clip. It's on the screen for about 3 or 4 seconds of Dennis Martinez last out in the perfect game, and it's not El Presidente El Perfecto.
I was so livid. I was so like, what clip are you showing me? Like none.
think they
Like, you
showed
did
us-
not hear Dave Van Horn's voice in any of this documentary and any of the calls.
Yeah, I think they showed like the Dodgers feed of the perfect game, like the Dodgers radio audio or TV audio. It was very, very shocking. Now, in terms of like a movie and a documentary, but think about all those omissions that we just said. The story is told weirdly. Like it's really like poor storytelling. It's like the history of the team from the inception to the end is, I know they don't have enough time, or maybe they cut it. I don't know. It happens in like 2 minutes. You know, within minutes they're already at 1999.
Right. Yes.
Right. And then they go back to 94 and they jump back and forth, which is fine. I know a lot of directors do that, but like I just felt that it was just like not told properly, and they focused on things that I know for a fact are inconsequential, like the lawsuit that you mentioned, right? They focused so much on the stadium, and I know they needed a stadium, and the stadium was important, and it's definitely a factor into why they left. So if they're asking the question, who killed the Montreal Expos, the lack of being able to get a stadium is part of it. But they made it seem like the government just said no. But like we lived during that time. This was not page 1 of the newspaper. This was like a footnote. Everybody knew that the government wasn't going to help them. This is like, yeah, like Lucien Bouchard said, we don't have enough money for hospitals, so we can't help Major League Baseball. And everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense. You know?
Right. By the way, one thing they didn't mention, of course, because it really has nothing to do with baseball, but the referendum was in 1994, I think.
95.
95. Yeah. After that, even though the no side won the referendum, how many major corporations moved their head office from Montreal to Toronto? I don't even know the number. And when you don't have corporations in your city to purchase season tickets, to purchase luxury suites, to buy sponsorship, that's a problem.
Yeah, but that problem started before. That started in the 1980 referendum.
Exactly, yes.
Right? Like the exodus of corporate Montreal started in the early 80s after the 1980 referendum. And then we felt the effects of that, and that's like years later, right? Like people find it hard to believe. Like if you came to Montreal today, right? You just did a tour of Montreal, spent a weekend here. You love the city. You think it's great, right? You go to Toronto and you spend a weekend in Toronto. Like a perfect stranger, someone who's never been to either cities. You say, wow, Toronto's great. And then I tell you, by the way, in 1980, Montreal and Toronto were the same size.
Right.
It's almost shocking
Yes.
to see like the difference in size of the city, right?
And another big difference is, I don't want to insult anybody, but the way business is done in the province of Quebec is different from the rest of Canada and the rest of North America.
I agree.
Business people in Quebec are just different.
But, you know, I don't want to defend. I mean, Jeffrey Loria is not in the film, really. Like, there's clips of him, but he's not interviewed. And I don't want to defend David Sampson because he's literally the biggest jerk on earth. But I mean, they do say that. Like, Sampson will tell you, like, they didn't want to, we couldn't do business with them. But the problem is it goes both ways, right? Like they made a point of showing that the American owners came in and they started telling the Quebec owners what to do, and they were like, "Well, we're not having that. No one tells us what to do." And then that was the tension, right? That was more or less the end. Can we talk about David Sampson?
You're asking if we can talk about him?
Yeah, do you want?
I mean, he was on our biggest scumbags list. I think he was number 1.
Look, what he said in the documentary, if you take the substance of the words that he says, he's not wrong. You know, he said, if someone wants to blame me and Jeffrey for being the ones who made the Expos leave, that's completely false. There's like a million things that led to that point. Like there's a lot of things that led up to the point where they got rid of the team. But the whole problem with David Sampson is, And to his credit, he has a podcast. He goes on radio shows. He's an open book. He'll talk about this whenever you want him. There's not a microphone in the world that he does not want to be in front of, and that's part of the problem. He does not realize how big of a jerk he is. Like
Actually, I think he does realize it, and he doesn't care.
Listening to him talk, I'm like, this guy is the biggest asshole on earth. Like he's so full of himself. He's so arrogant. The way he talks it's so ridiculous. It's like I don't know. At one point I was asking, is he really like this, or is this just how he is when he has a mic in front of him? Because can anybody be this stupid? Can anybody be this disgusting? Like, I don't think so. But whatever. That's him.
By the way, so this is not really about the documentary itself, but on Netflix, you can choose to watch in a different language or with subtitles or without. I watched the bilingual version without dubbing because I did not want to watch the dub. I didn't even know that there was a dub version until after when you told me. And I was lucky because when I watched it, I guess the settings were already properly set because I didn't change anything. But I'm glad that I watched the bilingual version.
Well, I started off with the dubbing because I didn't know. And then I'm not the only one, because when I went online, this is a topic, right? If you watch this with the dubbing, it's unwatchable.
100%.
I felt like I was watching an AI movie. It was something made like out of AI. Like, I'm like, what am I watching here? Like, you're hearing Chantal Macabé with her voice, and like Roger Brulotte and all these people speaking like with it. Like, I'm like, why don't they just let them speak French? And then of course when I switched it to French, I'm like, oh, now the movie's better, right?
Now there are people watching this who don't speak French, and maybe they prefer that, but I didn't.
Well, I mean, it's for us, it's easier to watch with listening to speak French with English subtitles. I didn't even need the subtitles, to be perfectly honest. They're just there. But like an American person, this is a Netflix movie, or someone in Western Canada, or someone who doesn't speak as good of French, maybe it's more difficult to watch it the way we did. I don't know. The movie as a whole was just, I didn't like it that much. Like I said, it brought back all the traumas and all the bad times, and they didn't show enough of the good times.
Right. So about a year ago, we did a podcast, you and I mentioned this other documentary called Nos Amours, la saga des Expos de Montréal, which is on Crave. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch that documentary. It's a year old, maybe a year and a half old. I don't know. It's much better than the Netflix one. You're not going to learn anything new, because you know everything, but it's done much better. And it didn't get any fanfare. It didn't get any publicity. Most people don't even know it exists, but it's much better.
Look, I like some of the parts. It was nice to see Felipe, even though he looks kind of frail, and some of the interviews. Larry Walker was good. Pedro comes off great in this movie.
For
He's
sure,
such a defender of the Montreal market. They even showed, I don't know if he wasn't interviewed, but they showed like archival footage, like Warren Cromartie and stuff like this. Like, it was good. It was good. Like, Dave Van Horn was a huge missing piece of this movie. Obviously, it's massive. And like, my conclusion is the same as yours, in that the local ownership bears the most blame for the team moving. That's for sure. Samson and Loria have their share to go around, I think, and the fans have their share, but the fans are the lowest of the blame. Right,
because you can't. I don't really blame the fans when the team was stripped of all its good players, and Major League Baseball owned the team and didn't invest anything to acquire new players or sign new players or make any trades. Why would you go and support that team? Why would you go and buy a ticket and go to the stadium and sit there for 2 or 3 hours? Like,
Well, how long did you not go after the '94 strike? How long did it take for you to go back to a game?
At least 5 years.
I remember you just told me I'm not going.
Right.
And it wasn't because of the fire sale. It was because of the strike.
Right.
You're like, I'm not going. I'm not supporting this.
It was at least 5 years before I went back. Maybe 10. I don't remember.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Look, would I recommend someone to watch this movie if you want to learn a little bit about the history of the Expos and the city and everything? Yeah. But as a diehard, you're not going to learn that much. Like, and the other thing is, like, back to that lawsuit, like, and I said, like, the lawsuit didn't have merit and all this. I fully believe Jeffrey Loria is a con man. Like, I fully believe that. And I do believe that their intention was to steal the team. I don't think they had good intentions. I think they wanted to come in, they wanted to make a splash, they wanted to show that they were trying to do stuff, but I fully feel the intention was that they wanted to steal the complete ownership of the team. And then at a certain point, a light bulb went off in their head, and we're like, okay, we're gonna move this team. Like they're gonna flip it. Like this idea that they sold the team to Major League Baseball and then somehow bought the Marlins. That's not just like coming out of nowhere, right? That's something that needs planning, right?
I agree with you partly. I do think that the intention was to flip the team, but I don't think Loria's intention was for the team to move. Like he wanted to sell it, and then whatever happens after they sell it, I don't think he cared.
Yeah. They just didn't care. Honestly, they just didn't care. And they've proved it because they completely fleeced the people of Florida afterwards, right? Like the Marlins are a joke, and they got the city to pay for this stadium that no one goes to. Like if you read up about Loria and Sampson in Florida, it's not a good situation there either, right? They're pretty hated over there too. Well, they don't own the team anymore, right? Like I don't think they own the team.
No, they don't.
And Sampson and Loria are not related anymore. Like that, Loria was his stepfather.
I don't even know if they talk
married
to each other anymore.
I don't think they do. He's not married to Sampson's mom anymore, right? So, yeah, there you go. That's the who killed the Montreal Expos. And we just talked about it before. Like the '94 strike was definitely a factor, right? Because that team was obviously a great team and could have won the World Series, and then we'll never know what happened. But like that strike happened because baseball wanted a salary cap, and then they didn't get a salary cap. They got revenue sharing instead. That was what they agreed on. And it's been all these years. We're talking about 30 years have gone by, right? And now, again, they're still talking about a salary cap. And I don't know, baseball's headed for a labor stoppage, either a lockout or a strike.
In a way, I'm kind of happy that Montreal doesn't have a baseball team, and don't hate me for this, because if Montreal had a team, they would not be able to compete with the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Cubs and the Padres. They wouldn't be able to. So it would basically be the same thing where anytime a player that they had was coming up to free agency, they would trade that player. So I don't want Montreal to have a AAA team.
We'd be the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Tampa Bay Rays.
Or the Oakland Athletics. That's what the team would be.
That's what we would be. And you're going to see it happen with the Pirates. The Pirates have the best pitcher in baseball, and he's young, and they should sign him to a long-term deal. I'm talking about Paul Skeens, and he's going to walk.
By the way, Detroit Tigers, Tarek Skubal, he's also going to leave.
Well, certainly, look, anybody that knows us personally or that's listened to the show for 331 previous episodes knows that we could talk about baseball probably forever. We could talk about and keep recording for hours and hours and hours. And we've kind of almost done that. So obviously it was great talking to you today about the Jays. I know it's sad in Toronto, but I hope that the fans hold on to like the good memories of this season, although it's going to be really hard to not think about what could have been. And also, finally, we got to talk about the Who Killed the Montreal Expos, and the documentary told us exactly what we thought it was going to tell us. We don't really know. It was a bunch of factors, right?
Yes, I did enjoy this episode, partly because I didn't really need any notes today. I was able just to talk off the top of my head, which always makes it sound better. Because it's a topic that I'm very familiar with, whether it's the current World Series or the demise of the Expos, whichever you want to talk about. I could talk about either of those for days. So I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we waited until Sunday to record as well.
Right. All right. I'll talk to you next time.
Have a great week.